This is TWiT.
To me, the lesson, and I also take this lesson from the collapse of FTX, is that centralization. Amy, you'd probably be good to talk about this. It's not always a good idea. Certainly, it's the kind of the way capitalism works, because that's how you capture value is by centralizing it, siloing it, and selling it. But for end users, I don't know if centralization is the right thing. Of course, that is the complaint people who don't want to leave Twitter have as well. But I like all the people I can follow and talk to on Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, listen, total decentralization. I don't know of any examples throughout history in any sector where total decentralization worked and worked in the long term.
But maybe it's a pendulum that we've swung too far in the direction of economies of scale and centralization and mass.
I mean, maybe
industry.
if we're bridging to sort of the exchanges, the crypto exchanges, I don't think our central banks. I'm not sure what the Fed is. I don't know that I agree with what the Fed has been doing, but I also don't know that completely unfettered exchanges where you have a handful of people making the liquidity. I don't want to get like super in the weeds on this, but we should not be in the place that we are right now. And this is no longer an experiment that's happening during COVID. There's real money being lost.
That's a good point.
Like significant real money for people. And again, if we play this forward, you put somebody in dire economic circumstances without in our current economy with the current with all of the other variables that are not playing to our favor. This is where you have a vulnerable population that decides to, we've seen how this has happened throughout history, and it has typically not gone well. So that's what I'll say.
It's interesting. I maybe because I'm not a good capitalist. I'm not good at marketing. I'm not good at, if I like the idea, for instance, on our Mastodon, I don't really want to promote it. I just kind of like it better if it grows natively and it doesn't need to be big. I don't want to get big. Getting big sometimes I understand from a capitalist point of view, from an industrial point of view, getting big is a secret to economies of scale. It's where you really get the big money. I kind of like not getting big. Mastodon's more like having a cottage garden.
Well, I'll tell you,
sure, it's not as efficient as having a giant, 15 million acre beet farm, but it's kind of more personal and more satisfying.
But it's all about niche and getting to your very specific audience, which is very much evidenced here. I mean, we don't have enormous audiences, but
I like the niche.
Very desirable for our specific audience.
I just like the
that's
niche.
The big thing.
I'd prefer to talk to people who get it than people who don't. Maybe it's just me. I don't know.
Right. And so again, but that is a better situation for a potential advertiser. The challenge with advertisers on platforms right now is you kind of don't know where your ads are going, and you don't have clear metrics on anything. If I had an opportunity to talk to 2,000 people about something that was aligned with whatever it is that I'm working on, and I was going to do it in a way that they appreciated, that's the best possible advertising there is.
Doesn't even have to be that large, Amy. I mean, this is one of the things we talk about when people start out doing podcasts, and they get very depressed because they see download numbers of 100 or 200 people. But if you just take a moment and say, what if I had 100 or 200 people just in a room listening to me?
Right.
That's plenty.
Yeah.
That's really powerful. And if you just think about that.
And if it's the right 100 or 200 people, that's all you need. I mean, honestly, that is Twitter. Twitter's user base is pretty small relative to the global population. It just happened to be a concentration of media people and tech people.
That's a good point. It's not Facebook, is it?
Mm-hmm. But Twitter's user base had a advantage over some of the other social media platforms, and that is the user base tended to be a bit more educated, and it tended to be a little wealthier. I think the last stat I saw was 87% make more than $30,000 a year. 40% make more than 75,000 a year, and something like 15% more make more than 100,000 a year. So if you're an advertiser and you're looking for your niche, that platform that has fewer users but has more of the users that you want is a better buy.
Do you think that's the move behind all of these sort of Spaces style, like small audio chat rooms that we're starting to see?
I mean, that's it's Patreon.
That's Twitter. It's
remember,
like
Patreon was the 1,000 loyal listeners. That's all you really need. You get that, right, and anything else is gravy. If you get the 1,000 people who really want to hear what you have to say, who are willing to give you that $1 a week or $1 an episode,
I will say this: if we do better being more niche to a smaller audience than if I was broader to a larger audience, for sure.
Of course. Do you want an advertiser who needs to sell 1 million items to make $1 million, or an advertiser who makes $1 million off one item?
Well, isn't that what this internet's all about?
CISOs have access to big budgets. That's why sponsors.
Exactly.
Isn't that really what the internet's all about? Is diversity, small groups. Maybe it was a mistake to make social get so big. Maybe that was a mistake. Or no. I think it was driven by the desire to reach a mass audience so you could sell it to advertisers, as opposed to what people really needed or wanted.
The general sort of, this goes back to Jack Welch, and if anybody's super interested in sort of business and how we got here, it's a critique of Welch, but it's The Man Who Broke Capitalism, I think is what it's called. It's a brand new book.
Yeah, he was lionized at the time, and now
David Gell's, yeah. And still very much is especially like in Latin and South America, but scale is everything. It has like our modern business in the U.S. especially has been built on scale and financialization, meaning you want to get to the biggest possible numbers that you can, and then the rest of you want to achieve non-organic growth is kind of how we got to now. And I don't think that's the best way to do things. It just became the way that we do things.
Leo, I will tell you something that Jim Louderback, someone we both know, told me when he was running Revision 3. I asked him, what percentage of your producer's time is spent engaging directly with the audience? And he said 50%.
Yeah.
And that was critical to building his audience.
Yeah.
And I would say we spend kind of close to that too.
Yeah.
You got to spend a lot of time engaging with your audience directly.
Jack Welch built
scale gives you one very important thing. The larger a social media platform is, the easier it is to drive interactions with outrage.
Right.
At scale, the rage machine is amazing. You can get so many engagements. You can get so much spread by bringing up something that makes people upset.
And then you can spin out your rage.
Oh, this is my whole theory. The internet is a speed from bad to worse. It's like, how can I say the worst thing possible, the quickest, faster than anybody else? We've seen this with how people sort of do this pile on of like, I hate this person. I want to hurt this person. I want to kill this person. I'm like, it goes boom, 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 that fast.
But this again, but nobody invented this recently. This goes back to.
No, it's just allowing for speed.
It's just faster. This was a practice like 500 years ago. You go to see a Shakespeare show live and that happens in the audience,
But hold on, but the anonymity of Twitter allows for that as well.
The greater number of connections. If I go into a Mastodon instance and I just start spewing out rage, I am going to get blocked so quickly because people are going to say, I don't want to hear this. This has nothing to do with what we're discussing. Right. I do that on Twitter. I'm still going to get people blocking me, but I will find a big enough critical mass of people who share the same rage and will amplify it. So that happens on large instances that doesn't happen on small ones.
You know what? Bill Maher had a great line. He goes, I could say to everybody on Twitter, have a great day, and people would still be pissed off about that. Oh, of course,
because
you can have a
Bill
great
Maher.
day.
Yeah, we don't. Nobody. Right.
So, but are we learning a lesson that maybe too big is you can get too big? That it's. Certainly Jack Welch did he make GE too big? Is that what they're saying?
It was fast inorganic growth, and a lot of so organic growth would be developing new products and services and growing that market over time. Inorganic growth tends to happen through M&A. So you're buying up competitors or other companies, and you're trying to sort of spin up your P&L to appease the market. And that's a risky, dangerous game. But typically that happens when you're also cutting way back on staff, on services, on people. There's a terrific chapter of that book on on Boeing, and how Boeing got sort of gutted, and the history of really like great R&D in Boeing, was sort of blown apart. So I think we have this tradition in the U.S. of scale up, do less, get rid of as many people as you can, divest in your talent pipeline. There's a lot of that happening, and that's also the sort of playbook for a lot of companies that get consulting from a particularly large consulting company based in the United States. I won't say who it is, but that's kind of their playbook. And all of this is about driving up share prices as much as humanly possible. And that's a great short-term gain, and it's good for the market in the very near term. But it produces just disastrous results down the road. Now, I don't know if Elon himself has been a recipient of any of this advice, or if any of the tech companies have been recently, but they seem to be following at least in parts of those models.
Yeah. Listeners of this program get an ad-free version if they're members of Club TWiT. $7 a month gives you ad-free versions of all of our shows, plus membership in the Club TWiT Discord, a great clubhouse for TWiT listeners. And finally, the TWiT Plus feed with shows like Stacy's Book Club, The Untitled Linux Show, The Giz Fizz, and more. Go to twit.tv/clubtwit. And thanks for your support.